Hey guys, welcome back to my little space on the internet. Today I have to share with you some simple and easy winter decor DIYs that are low waste. You only need about 4 items to create them, and they are all fully compostable after the holiday season is over. There's a pine wreath, some pine garland, and dried orange ornaments. And to note, I only really make the dried orange ornaments when I have oranges around the house that are probably going to go bad before anybody eats them. Otherwise, there's a lot of really good dried orange peel ornament tutorials out there that you can follow. All you need are pine boughs and twine. First, gather up a nice big pile of pine boughs. You can usually go anywhere that sells Christmas trees and they'll give you the extras they cut off the bottom at no cost. Or if, like me, you live near a lot of public land, you can go scavenge some. For the twine, you can really find them at any craft store, and I usually can find a few at thrift stores as well. So separate the pine boughs into 2 piles, one of longer and thicker branches and the other one that are small and not as filled out. The nice thing about this project is you can easily adjust the size of the wreath depending on how many branches you have. And now we only have to deal with the larger branches for now, so we'll set the smaller ones to the side. So I start out with arranging branches in a circle, but you don't really need to do that. It just kind of helps me visualize how big I can make my wreath. So grab your twine and something to cut with, and I didn't actually find my scissors, so I have to use my pocket knife. And pick a branch and tie off your twine, and I always find that a double knot is always just a good insurance plan to make sure everything's really nice and secure. So from there, start stacking the branches, placing the end where it's more stick, less pine needle, under the part where it's more pine needle, less stick. And all I'm doing here is literally winding the twine around the branches, kind of through the smaller pieces that are stuck off the side of the main branch. It should be fairly tight, but at this point it's not too important. This part does take a little bit of time, but it's really nice to just put on some music or a YouTube video and sit there and bang it out. So when you've got a nice sized U shape for the size of the wreath that you want, pull off a long length of twine. Honestly, more than you think you need, because it's going to wrap around the whole wreath again. So take the 2 ends and stack them onto each other. If you hit a spot like this where it's bare and lots of stick pops out, put another branch over it and tuck it into the wreath and tie it down with the twine. First, you'll get a circle with a non-defined center. To fix this, tie down the smaller branches at the center and tuck the end sticks of each branch farther under the wreath as you go to create that nice circular donut wreath shape. At this point, you should be wrapping the twine tightly. It adds stability to the end product. Wrap until you have a wreath you're happy with, adding branches and twine as you go until it's thick enough and the desired shape. I usually like to leave a few branches sticking out at the end, but that's just me. I like the way it looks. It's a lot more natural. So when you've got it, flip the wreath over and tie off the rest of the twine into a loop, or you can hang it on a wreath hook if you have one. I don't, so I just had to make a makeshift hook with the rest of the twine. Then hang. The wreath is totally compostable at the end of the holiday season, and it really smells amazing. You'll need pine branches and twine again. To start, pull off a lot of twine. If you want to be precise, you can measure where you want to put it, but just be sure to add extra that you wrap around the branches. But I just like to eyeball it. Create a loop at one end of the twine by just wrapping one end around the main part of the twine a few times and then sticking it behind and through the little circle you've created. Adjust to the size you need and then tie it in a knot to finish it off. And again, double knots are always appreciated when it comes to securing things, especially when you don't use any glue. So take pieces of pine and stack them on top until you get a nice thick little bundle, and adjust to the length you want by just cutting off the excess, and take the needles off about the top 1 inch of the pieces. So leave room at the end of the twine so when it hangs the loop isn't all squashed together with the hanging pine. Tie the twine around the wrap. And then just wrap until it feels like it is secure. Tie off by making a circle out of the twine, twisting it once, and putting it over the end of the pine. For the next, measure the placement of the next bundle so that they're not all squished together. So tie off by making a circle out of the twine, twisting it once, and then putting it over the end of the pine bundle. And then you can adjust the length between the pine bundles by wrapping any excess you have. And then continue to wrap. For the rest of the garland strand, just continue on this way until you have a desired length, tying a loop at the end of the twine just like at the beginning. And again, this is fully compostable at the end of the holiday season. You'll need oranges, an oven, and some twine. So start by preheating your oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Cut your oranges into about 1/4 of an inch thick slices. And I cut mine a little too thick, but that's okay. It just took a little bit longer to cook them and dry them out. Place on a silicone baking mat or compostable parchment paper. It doesn't really matter how close they are together. And then place in the oven for about 2.5 to 4.5 hours. When the flesh is a little translucent and the rinds are hard, you know they're done. So get something to puncture a hole in the orange slice, a large needle or a knife. Here I'm using a skewer. And then just lace the twine through the hole. And tie off the ends to create a loop. And that's all there is to making those. Quick and simple and easy. Hang them on trees, the wreath you made, or even the garland. And these are also fully compostable, but I like to grind the oranges up at the end of the holiday season to make orange salt that you can use in baking, scrubs, a bunch of different recipes. So collect the pine needles that fall off when you're making the wreath and the garland and place into a mason jar, really packing them down. To make a pine cleaner, you can soak them in vinegar, but for an air freshener, I recommend soaking them in vodka. Fill it up to the top and soak about 2 weeks in a cool, dark place, and then cut about 50-50 with water and use as a DIY pine air freshener.